Remain here, for here is where everything unfolds, Neville Goddard affirms. Man embodies pure imagination. Through the realm of a conscious dream, he possesses the ability to predefine his destiny. By living within the dream, fully engaged in its essence, rather than merely contemplating it, the imaginative power responds to our audacious fantasies, bringing forth the realization of our fulfilled desires. Today, I learned that no one constructs a magnificent dwelling without the intention of residing in it. What dwelling is more magnificent than the one created for which all things remain undiminished? George Herbert. While I wish this were true for the noble dreams of mankind, unfortunately, perpetual construction, the occupation of wounds, is commonplace. Why build a grand residence if not to inhabit it? Why construct a dream abode and not dwell in it? This is the secret of those who are awake in bed while dreaming genuine dreams. They understand how to reside within their dreams until, in reality, they achieve just that. Man, through the medium of a conscious dream, can predetermine his future. The imaginative act of residing in the feeling of a fulfilled desire guides man across a bridge of events toward the actualization of the dream. By living within the dream, fully immersed in its essence, the creative power of imagination responds to our adventurous fantasies, and the realized desire surprises and engulfs us. Man is entirely imagination. Consequently, man must exist where he is in imagination. Imagination is intrinsic to his being. Acknowledge that imagination is not bound to the senses or confined by the spatial limits of the body. While man may navigate physical space through the movement of his body, he need not be restricted to such confines. He can traverse through a shift in awareness. Regardless of how tangible the scene on which vision rests, man can envision something never before witnessed. He holds the power to move obstacles, even mountains, if they clash with his concept of how life should unfold. This ability to shift from the present reality to an envisioned reality is a profound revelation. It unveils man as a center of imagination, equipped with the authority to intervene and alter the course of observed events, progressing from triumph to triumph through a series of mental transformations that redefine the nature of both others and himself. For numerous years, a doctor and his wife harbored dreams of their magnificent abode, yet it wasn't until they lived in it imaginatively that it materialized. Here is their narrative. Around 15 years ago, Mrs. M and I purchased a plot on which we constructed a 2-story house, serving as our office and living space. We left sufficient room in the parking lot for an apartment building, contingent on our financial capacity. Throughout those years, we diligently paid off our mortgage, but at the conclusion of that period, we lacked the funds for the additional building we fervently desired. True, we had significant savings, ensuring the stability of our business, yet tapping into any part of it posed a threat to that security. However, your teaching sparked a new perspective, asserting boldly that we could attain our utmost desires through the deliberate use of imagination, and the fulfillment of a desire could be more convincing than relying on money. We resolved to put this theory to the test, setting aside concerns about money and directing our focus entirely on the thing we yearned for the most. In this realm, applying the same principle, we mentally conceived the new apartment building precisely as we desired. Creating physical blueprints to enhance our vision of the finished structure, we consistently thought from the end, the completed and occupied building. Engaging in numerous imaginative excursions across our property, we leased out units to fictional tenants, meticulously inspecting each one and relishing the sense of accomplishment as friends extended their congratulations. Within our mental scenario, we included a specific friend, whom I'll refer to as Mrs. X, a lady we hadn't encountered in some time. As she explored the building with us in our imagination, we inquired about her thoughts. Hearing her voice distinctly, we envisioned her response, "Doctor, I think it's beautiful." While discussing our building one day, my wife mentioned a contractor responsible for several nearby apartment constructions. We only knew him by the name displayed on signs adjacent to the ongoing projects. However, recognizing that in truly living in the end, seeking a contractor wouldn't be necessary, we promptly dismissed this aspect. Maintaining these daily sessions of imagination for several weeks, we both sensed a fusion with our desire, having effectively dwelled in the end. One day, a stranger entered our office, introducing himself as the contractor my wife had mentioned weeks earlier. Poetically, he stated, "I don't know why I stopped here. I usually don't go to see people, people come to see me." Expressing his curiosity about the vacant corner lot, he revealed that he had passed our office frequently, wondering why there was no apartment building. Despite our acknowledgement of the desire for such a building, we emphasized our lack of funds to invest, not even having a few $100s for the plans. Surprisingly unperturbed by our negative response, he proceeded to brainstorm ways to execute the project voluntarily, without being solicited or encouraged by us. Putting the incident out of our minds, we were astonished when this man called a few days later, informing us that the plans were ready, and the estimated cost for the proposed building would be $30,000. Graciously expressing our gratitude, we took no further action. Firm in our belief that we had lived vividly in the end of a completed building, we trusted that imagination would bring this vision to fruition seamlessly, without any external intervention. True to our expectations, the contractor contacted us once more the following day, revealing that he had uncovered existing plans in his archives perfectly suited to our requirements, requiring only minor adjustments. He conveyed that this would save us the architect's fee for new plans. Although we expressed our thanks once again, we remained inactive. Conventional wisdom would dictate that such a disinterested response from clients would terminate the matter definitively. Contrary to expectations, 2 days later, the contractor called again, announcing that he had secured a financial institution willing to cover the necessary loan, except for a few $1,000s. While seemingly incredible, we maintained our stance of inaction. In our minds, this building was already completed and fully occupied, solely within the realm of our imagination. Not a single cent of our own money went into its construction. The contrast to this narrative resembles a sequel to Alice in Wonderland, as the contractor visited our office the next day and announced, almost self-introducing, "You're getting this new building regardless. I've decided to cover the remaining loan balance, if that's agreeable. I'll have my attorney draft the papers, and you can reimburse me from the net profits of the rents." This time, we took action, we signed the papers, and construction commenced immediately. Most units were leased before final completion, with all but one occupied on the day of completion. The seemingly miraculous events of the past months left us elated, and for a while, no discernible flaw appeared in our envisioned scenario and profit margins. However, aware that we had already, through the power of imagination, conceived another imaginal scene, this time, witnessing tenants touring the unit, hearing the words, "Let's take it," we imaginatively visited those who had already moved in. We allowed them to guide us through the rooms, hearing their satisfied and content comments. 3 days later, the apartment was leased. Our initial imaginary scenario unfolded in every detail except one, and it materialized when, a month later, our friend, Mrs. X, pleasantly surprised us with a long overdue visit expressing her desire to see our new building. Happily, we guided her through, and at the tour's end, she uttered the line we had envisioned weeks before in our imagination. With emphasis on each word, she declared, "Doctor, I think it's beautiful." Their 15-year dream became a reality, and they now understood it could have manifested at any point within those 15 years if they had known the secret of imagining and how to dwell in the end of desire. Yet, now it was a realized fact, their profound desire was objectified, and they hadn't invested a single cent of their own money. Through a waking dream, Dr. M created reality. They learned to reside in their dream home as they do now, even though external assistance appeared to come into play. The trajectory of events was ultimately shaped by the imaginal activity of the doctor and his wife. The participants were drawn into their imaginary drama because it was dramatically essential for them to be involved. Their marginal structure dictated it. All things, by divine law, are either harmonizing or not. The following account illustrates how a woman fashioned her majestic dwelling by imagining sleeping or residing in it. Several months ago, my husband decided to list our house for sale, intending to pursue a move we had frequently discussed, finding a larger home to accommodate both of us, my mother, my aunt, along with 10 cats, 3 dogs, and a parakeet. Surprisingly, the contemplated move originated from my husband's suggestion, as he cherished my mother and proposed that I spent most of my time at her house anyway. So, why not live together and share the tax burden? I embraced the idea, but I knew the new house had to be exceptionally special in size, location, and layout, as I insisted on privacy for all parties involved. At the moment, I remained undecided about selling our current house, but I refrained from discussing it, well aware from past experiences with imagining that our house wouldn't sell until I stopped sleeping in it. 2 months and a modest sum of dollars later, my husband had abandoned the idea of selling our house, and so had the realtors. At this juncture, I had convinced myself that I desired a change. Therefore, for 4 consecutive nights in my imagination, I went to sleep envisioning the type of house I would like to possess. On the 5th day, my husband had an appointment at a friend's house, and there I encountered a stranger in search of a house in the hills. Swiftly, my husband brought him back to see our house. After a single walkthrough, he declared, "I'll buy it." This decision didn't win us favor with the realtors, but I was content to keep the broker's commission within the family. We relocated within 10 days and stayed with my mother while searching for our new home. We communicated our requirements to all the agents, as I was reluctant to leave the area, and each one, without exception, deemed us irrational. They asserted that our preferences were entirely implausible. However, we stumbled upon an English-style house boasting 2 distinct living rooms, separate apartments, a library, and situated on a flat slope with ample land for approximately 10 large dogs, all in a private location. When we disclosed the price we were willing to pay for this house, the agents wore expressions of sadness. I assured them that our demands extended beyond that. We sought wood paneling throughout the house, a grand fireplace, a breathtaking view, and seclusion without nearby neighbors, please. At this point, the agents would like to remind me that no such house existed. Still, if it did, they asserted it would command 5 times what we were willing to pay. Yet, I knew such a house existed because my imagination was already residing in it, and if I am my imagination, then I was dwelling in it. By the 2nd week, we had exhausted 5 real estate offices, and the night in the 6th office seemed a bit unconventional. When one of their partners, who had been silent until then, suggested, "Why don't you show them the place up on Kings Road?" A third partner in the office cynically remarked, "That property isn't even listed, and besides, the old lady would throw you off the property. She has 2, you know, and she wouldn't part with them." Well, I wasn't sure what she wouldn't part with, but the name of the street had piqued my interest, as I favored that particular area the most. So, I proposed, "Why not take a look anyway?" We chuckled as we drove up the street and veered onto a secluded road. Approaching a sizable 2-story house constructed of redwoods and English brick, surrounded by towering trees, perched alone and distant on its own hill with a panoramic view of the city below. From every window, a unique excitement enveloped me. We reached the front door, and a gracious woman welcomed us, saying, "I don't think I breathed for the next minute or 2 because I had entered the most exquisite room I had ever seen." The sturdy walls and brick of a substantial fireplace soared to a height of 28 feet, culminating in an arched ceiling supported by massive redwood beams. The room resembled something out of Dickens, and I could almost hear Christmas carolers singing on the upstairs balcony overlooking the living room. A large cathedral window framed a view of the sky, mountains, and cities far below, and the beautiful old redwood walls gleamed in sunlight. We were guided through a spacious downstairs apartment with an adjoining library, a separate entrance, and a separate wing. 2 staircases led up to a lengthy hallway, branching into 2 distinct bedrooms and bathrooms. At the end of the hallway was, indeed, everything we had envisioned. A second living space leading to an additional patio surrounded by manicured grounds. I began to grasp the agent's reluctance to split the property. On an acre of land, there stood a sizable pool and a pool house entirely distinct from the main residence but undeniably part of the package. It seemed like an implausible scenario. I had no interest in managing 2 highly taxable acres with a pool located a block away from the house. Before departing, I passed through that splendid living space once more, ascending the staircase to the dining room balcony. As I turned around, gazing downward, I spotted my husband standing by the fireplace, pipe in hand, a look of absolute contentment on his face. I rested my hands on the balcony railing and observed for a moment. Back at the real estate office, the 3 agents were prepared for the day, but my husband intervened, saying, "Let's make an offer anyway. Maybe she will divide the property. What do we have to lose?" One agent left the office without a word, and another dismissed the idea as absurd. The agent we initially spoke to commented, "Forget it, it's a pipe dream." My husband, not easily provoked, was now visibly angry. He sat down, slammed his hand on the table, and exclaimed, "It's your job to submit offers, isn't it?" They reluctantly agreed and eventually committed to presenting our offer on the property. As we left, that night in my imagination, I found myself on the dining room balcony, observing my husband by the fireplace. He looked at me and asked, "Well, darling, how do you like our new home?" I responded, "I love it," and continued to envision that beautiful scene. My husband touched the balcony railing, and I drifted off to sleep with my hands still gripping it. The following day, while having dinner at my mother's house, the phone rang. The agent, with an incredulous tone, informed me that we had just acquired a house. The owner had agreed to split the property right down the middle, giving us the house and the remaining acre for the price we proposed. Just as dreamers often sleep while fully awake in bed, dreaming of true things, one must choose between the path of imagination and the path of the senses with no room for compromise or neutrality. Those not for me are against me. When a person aligns with their imagination rather than their senses, they discover the essence of reality. I have cautioned myself that simply imagining a dream is already present won't make it a reality. However, by imagining that the dream is already realized, one can indeed achieve their aspirations. This compilation of stories attests to that truth. If individuals would embrace living imaginatively in the sensation of fulfilled desires, confidently advancing in their dream of controlled wakefulness, the power of imagination would respond to their adventurous fantasies, and the fulfilled desires would manifest unexpectedly. There's nothing more consistently marvelous than the unfolding of events. All individuals with an awakened imagination can perceive their wonders. Observe your imaginative activities, imagine beyond the best you currently know, and craft a superior world for yourself and others. Live as if the desire has materialized, even if it's still in the process, and you'll abbreviate the waiting period. The world is imaginative, not mechanistic. Imaginary actions don't determine a blind and predetermined destiny. I trust this content has been beneficial to you, contributing to your well-being. My aim with this channel is to assist you in financial flourishing, and it all commences in the mind, of course. Yet, I consistently stress the importance of taking action. If you found value in this, leave a like and subscribe to fortify our channel, continuing to illuminate the lives of many, just like yours. A warm embrace, and until the next video.